Welcome to another episode of Muslims and Mental Health. This is Ramadan, and during Ramadan we often highlight organizations that we think that you should be paying particular attention to. And today we're going to highlight the organization Muslim American Society. I have my own fond memories of attending the conventions of the Muslim American Society. It was actually where I was told about marrying my husband. So I have a lot of fond memories of that convention in Detroit, Michigan. But today we're going to talk about the organization itself. And I'm joined today with Sister Lobna Mulla again, and she's a past guest on the show. And we are going to talk about Muslim American Society. She's the National Tarbiyah Director for MAS, as it's otherwise known as. And she is also a screenwriter and wife and mother of 4. So join me in welcoming her to the show. Welcome, Lobna.
Thank you.
And let's get started talking about MAS and what the organization is about and why it was created.
Yeah. So Muslim American Society was as a nonprofit organization, and it was started in 1993. Its founders actually had created MAS. There was an organization created before that, and it was called the Cultural Society in the early 60s, which is really interesting. Yeah, I kind of did my little research. Very interesting to find out. And its mission stayed, the purpose was kind of the same, starting the Cultural Society, and then also eventually starting the Muslim American Society, with really the idea of being able to educate Muslims and non-Muslims about Islam. Educate. So the Muslim American Society today, a nonprofit organization, that really its mission is to educate with utmost clarity Muslim and non-Muslims about Islam, and to really create a platform by which American citizens, Muslim American citizens, can get engaged on many different levels, and we'll definitely talk about that.
So that's really interesting, because I hear you saying there that this is an educational organization.
Yes.
Not an activist organization.
It's both. So
Okay.
this is the beautiful thing. Following the prophetic model in every way. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when when Islam still wasn't directed to preach outwardly just yet, there was a small group of gatherers, and they would study Islam, and he would teach Islam to a variety of individuals, right? The old, the young, the men and the women, the children, in one house, in the house of Arqam. So following that prophetic model, it is an educational society in a sense, because we have the system of where we have an usra, small little family, halaqah style educational settings, where you go once a week and you connect with a small group of individuals, and you learn about your religion, and you also learn how to be engaged, following that prophetic model of a small group of individuals. But it's also an activist organization in that, okay, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directed Prophet Muhammad to outwardly preach his message, that's one of the things that we do as well. I don't want to keep this gift just for myself, this gift of Islam to myself. I want to be able, through learning in the halaqah, through conventions and camps, learn how do I share this message with others? And how do I also have confidence in myself as an American Muslim that what I have is something that's golden to share with others, that it's really a solution to our problems.
So this dawah or outreach, is it beyond the conventions and smaller events, or is it more than that?
Yeah, definitely it's more than that. So, taking a step back a little bit, my position, tarbiyah, that you mentioned, that's my position with MAS, and that's personal development, that's growth. So, just like, again, following the prophetic model, prayer, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reminding one another, like in Surah Al-Asr, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, enjoying one another in truth and in justice, and enjoying one another in patience. That's a group, that's a collective activity. So that personal development and growth keeps us in check, reminds us we do things with sincerity, only for the sake of Allah. I'm not doing this we're not doing any type of activity or dawah effort to be famous.
Right.
We're not doing it so that people can say, wow, that person's cool. We're doing it really to share this gift of Islam with others. So in one way, it's, it's very local. like in this halakha system, in this learning system. And it's very huge, like when we have these conventions that you talk about, and there you're able to really engage the entire community. But then all these things in between. Mass is also one of the founding organizations that started the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, and there, many other Muslim organizations are a part of that, like CARE, for example, like ICNA, like Muna, like the Ward Deen Muhammad Masjid, and they organized a Muslim National Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C. And, Muslims were then trained on how to talk about certain subjects that are really important to American Muslims and that benefit American citizens as a whole, talking really about social justice. And how do we engage with our senators and our Congress men and women about those issues? So it's, just how Islam is comprehensive. So is really the efforts that we try to be, the Muslim American Society, to be comprehensive as well. I don't want to learn about Islam and stay at home. I want to learn about Islam and inshallah, and doing it in the right way, spreading that message, like you said, homeless feedings we talked about in Ramadan and when we were together. It's not just about feeding ourselves, it's about feeding others, Muslim and non-Muslim.
You talked a bit about the services that you offer. Are there any other services you want to mention that the organization provides, and then who else can benefit? So is it just Muslims that benefit from the services that MAS provides, or do others benefit as well? Yeah,
so definitely Muslims and non-Muslims benefit. The nice thing, again, in talking about outreach and dawah, that the idea is when you're educating Muslims about Islam and what matters, you're also educating non-Muslims as well. So when we're going for social justice issues, for example, we started a Black Lives Matter working group within MAS. Nice. There's a group of individuals that how are Muslims going to learn how to move forward in this country as a minority if we don't even know how other minorities the struggles that they went through for centuries in this country. So learning about the civil rights movement, learning about the Black Lives Matter movement, learning about our history and how different minorities, about Japanese internment, those kind of things, that's part of our responsibility to learn that. So through webinars, through blog posts, through these conventions that non-Muslims are also welcome to attend, and that way we're really highlighting solutions to world problems. So in that sense, but one of the things I want to highlight about youth, it's such an age where sometimes you can kind of get pulled in direction or feel like sometimes depending on the environment that you're in, you don't really have support. And I think that's one of the beautiful services also that MAS provides is within the masjid, but also providing the Scouts program even for younger kids. In some chapters, there's about 35 chapters throughout the United States, but also youth camps as well. Where they're kind of led by youth and they're run by youth. There's mentors that come and speak, but letting them pray together, but also be active together through hikes and reflections, and also fun activities. So
you mentioned the youth camps. Where is a place that people could access information about that? Is there a website or?
Yeah, if you go to MuslimAmericanSociety.org, you'll find a breadth of information about what MAS is about and what are the services that they provide and how to reach a local chapter if you really want to become a member and get more involved.
That sounds like really interesting work and a lot of work it sounds like that you do, certainly a large breadth.
Yes.
Do you like your work?
I love it. And it's one of those things. Someone's on a commercial. Like, I'm not only selling this product, I use it myself. But really, before I started working for MAS, I was raised by MAS. After my parents and after my family, I really say that's my second, and outside of my family, of course. That is my second family. That constant mentorship to this day. 20 years later, those same mentors are in my life and, around me and congratulating me when good things happen and are there, when I have questions. And it's beautiful. It literally changed my life.
So a real sense of community.
A real sense of community. Yeah, it's amazing.
So why do you like this work?
You know, so I would say kind of it's interesting just to kind of talk about my progression as well. So starting off with the youth. I started off just kind of helping out with the youth group, and holding some classes in my home or going out on outings and getting involved in camps and stuff like that. I really saw how that mentorship and just caring about individuals can change their life. Somebody else other than your family caring about you and wanting the best for you for the sake of Allah. Right? Like I can give advice to you and you can give advice to me because we care about each other, not because of anything else. And so when you have that on an organizational level, and you're reminded of that as you go out into the world, it's very special. It really is very special. So
I want to come back to something you said there, but we need to take a break, a short break for our sponsors. So right now we're going to take a short break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back to Muslims and Mental Health. Today we're discussing Muslim American Society with Sister Lobna Mulla. So I want to continue on with what we were discussing before the break, and just add, how I see what you've been discussing. So one of the things that's really misunderstood, I think, about American Muslims is how family-centered we actually are. The dominant culture has kind of broken down that family-centeredness, and there is a discussion and discourse at this point in time around how individualistic actually our society has become. And I think that it's often misunderstood that American Muslims do value family-centeredness. We value collectivism. And to that extent, it sounds like Muslim American society allows for that expression to remain intact. And I realize how that can seem threatening to some people, but it's actually what it allows for is the opportunity to acculturate versus assimilate, which is not really desirable for anyone, to lose themselves, to lose their culture. And we see this happening not just in the United States, but all over the world, when organizations, franchises, all these things are imported into societies. You start to see that culture just sort of wither away. And for me personally, I'm not going to name particular places, but I've visited places where I've been so sad to see their culture have just dissipated due to capitalism, for example. And I'm not anti-capitalist per se, but I'm just saying that that allowing for acculturation as opposed to assimilation allows you to remain intact with your traditions, with your values. And this is something that most people desire to do. And that's overlooked and misunderstood and seen many times as some other expression that's sort of deemed dark, especially by people who are very individualistic. They no longer relate to that, and they can't understand it.
Right.
And so I'm very happy to hear that Muslim American Society still gives a place to grow that collective outlook, that we're here to support each other, that we're part of a group, not just
Yes.
individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's blessing in the group, and whether it's in the home, even within the home, we find ourselves sometimes at odds with different personalities in our own home,
Right.
between, husband and wife and siblings and parents, right? But yet we still have to persevere. And whether our parents are Muslim or not, we still, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us that we have to be kind to our parents and be good to them and to not turn away from them. So that's definitely encouraged. And then, like you said, on a larger scale, the blessing is in the group. Then when you're working in an organization, and so it is very special, that fostering of that feeling, really on an organizational level.
So what do you see as the next steps for Mass, and how can others support Mass? How can people in the community be supportive of Mass?
I think always as an organization, just as human beings, we're constantly evolving. Still trying to get our message out there that, sharing in the most natural way possible, that Islam has really the solutions to world problems, to the breakdown of the family structure, to alcoholism, to addictions, to injustice. One of the things I think is really important that we're really trying to do through, as an organization, but through different mosques, masajid, through different organizations within the community, to really break down this social and racial injustice that we have within the Muslim community. Because as the Muslim community gets stronger together, and we're no longer pointing fingers at where you're from and where I'm from and what color you are and what socioeconomic status you are and what language you speak, like we embrace those differences like you mentioned, and we don't look at each other as others because of those differences. I think as we unite as a community, and hopefully, Mass through its lectures in the masajid and through the conventions and what have you, encouraging that unity, that's, I think, an important next step to continue to work on that. And how can people support? You can, again, go to MuslimAmericanSociety.org. You can become a member. So becoming a member means that you can donate every month and really just trying to help support the work that's being done to educate Muslims and non-Muslims about Islam. You can also, if you want to become a member and actually get more involved, again, you can visit the website and find out. Once you sign up, you can join the newsletter. Even if you don't want to become a member, you can join the newsletter and really just be abreast of all the different activities that are out there. And that's the beautiful thing. Maybe someone's like, you know what, I'm not really interested in politics or being in civically engaged. Right. But maybe you're more interested in helping out local communities when there's disasters, like in Flint, Michigan with the water, or in other disaster-stricken communities. Maybe you want to help out that way, or maybe you want to help even more locally than that and help with youth. So visiting the website and paying a visit would help.
Well, thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
It's always so nice being with you, Sister
And
Heather.
I want to turn now to our fun questions, as this concludes another episode of Muslims and Mental Health. We would like to talk to you about your own partaking of Ramadan, and which do you like most, prayer, fasting, reading Quran, giving charity, or going to Hajj?
It's like a whole plethora of things to choose from. Can I cheat and give two?
Sure. It's not cheating. But,
You know what's so funny? I have to say something interesting about fasting. And it's not a secret to my friends that I've really been struggling and trying. I've been really trying to increase my fast. I remember a time when I was studying in Egypt, and I fasted so much extra. And I was sad that over the years I felt like I just...
in Egypt.
In Egypt. I even had finals and I would just fast, like extra, outside of Ramadan, a lot. And we would get together and say, okay, let's have a iftar together, because, we're going to fast this Thursday and follow the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And I found over the years, I've really, whether it's because of coffee or because of just, I'm with the kids, I'm going to get stressed out, so I need food. So I've really been trying to up my fast to no avail before Ramadan. And one of the things I'm excited about this Ramadan, I just feel such an ease in terms of less of a reliance on food when I get stressed out, even during Ramadan. That I'm like, you know what? inshallah, this will be the starting point to going back to fasting extra after. So in that sense, I will say, fasting is now become one of my favorite, whereas before it wasn't. And giving charity. I really, there's so much encouragement in the Quran to give, and that we never know like how much, even like a kernel's weight, or you never know how little you give can make a big difference because it's relating to the sincerity behind it and the intention.
MashaAllah. Just listening to you talking about fasting, I'm reminded of how fasting is one of those deeds that, like, so when we're standing before Allah and other people can take away from us that we owe for whatever reason, they can't take the deeds of your fast away. And that's just so powerful, that you are able to do that extra fasting.
Yeah, I was. I want to go back to that.
I know, but it's like I've always talked about, how life is like a spiral staircase. You go back and it's like deeper. The same issues, you encounter, and this is with you in fasting, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming back to this issue again, and you're going to, inshallah, return to where you were, like on that staircase, right? Both of us, inshallah.
Both of us, inshallah.
Moving on, how do you replenish your soul during this time?
During Ramadan?
Or in general. It doesn't even have to be during Ramadan, but
sure.
What are the things that you do to replenish your soul?
For me, connecting with others is huge. Just a battery recharge. Going to the gas station, just fill up on people.
So you get energy from others.
I get energy from others, and it's nice to remind myself also, that there's times I can get lazy within Ramadan or outside, to take those extra steps to get a reminder, to go to khutbah Jum'ah, to go to Friday prayer, or to maybe visit somebody, and they're the kind of person that they'll remind you of Allah, right? Those are the kind of people you want to be around, right? Even like coming here and talking with you, we're talking about Allah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, you're my sister from another mister.
Alhamdulillah, I feel the same way. That connection, you go away and it's like we filled up on each other, and we remembered Allah, and then you go back and then somebody does something to you outside of the space, and you're more at peace because you were with your sisters in Islam, you're with your brothers in Islam, and you remembered your Creator. It's like.
And what do you do for self-care?
Something that I've neglected for a while, and I really feel is very helpful. So aside from the spiritual self-care, trying to get closer to Allah, through fasting, through charity, through increased prayer, trying to push myself more in that direction, exercise. It's a forgotten sunnah that, I so many times have an off and on relationship after I had kids, to get back on track. And
it's much harder after children.
It's harder. Yeah. It's harder. And now I'm realizing in my ripened age that if you don't engage in self-care, if you don't take that time away to increase yourself in spirituality and physical activity and eating better, how are you going to give to everybody else? How are you going to be that better servant of Allah? You can't. You cannot give on empty.
Right.
And so exercise is one of those things like, you got to take that effort, you got to take that time out. But when you go, you're like, how could I have been missing this for all of these years?
Yeah.
So it's exercise, definitely playing an important role in that self-care.
One of the things I have to say about you, Sister Lobna, that I just admire and love is your humility. You are a good example for our youth and adults as well, but in that you don't have to be perfect, that you allow for, okay, I'm trying this, and sometimes, I fall back and then I move forward, and that is okay. And we need more of that. We don't have enough of those examples, I think, right now. Or at least they're not giving voice, they're not getting voice.
Yeah.
And we need more voice to that, because that's real. That's real. It's human. It's what life is about.
Yeah.
And although we strive toward, I guess, what would be considered perfection, right? none of us are going to reach perfection.
No.
And to have that as a requirement for people is just too much. It's too much.
It is too much. And you know what?
It's, as the kids say, extra.
You know, and in striving for excellence, we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And part of it is because we maybe think people out there are just perfect. It's like, oh, well, I'm not like that, so I'm horrible,
Yeah.
right? And then sometimes we become our own worst kind of a judge, and you know, we keep putting ourselves down. So that's again, you know, being around others and reminding you that we're all struggling.
Right.
It's so helpful. Then we're all like, hey, we're in the same boat. So being easier on ourselves is a good start.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's, like I said, always a pleasure to have you. And I hope that you can return at some point and talk to us again.
I'd love to.
For now, this concludes another episode of Muslims and Mental Health. We're so happy for you to join us. If you are interested in advertising on the show, we are currently looking for more advertisers. Please contact us at www.nafshealertherapy@gmail.com. That's NAFSHEALER therapy@gmail.com. You can also join us on our adjunctive website at www.nafshealertherapy.wordpress.com for more information. And we will also have, at the end of this episode, contact information where if you want to get in touch with Sister Lobna, you can, or go to the Mass website. We'll have that on there as well. So thank you for joining us, and Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak.